The guy is completely bamboozled when he hears our boy is supposedly just a new recruit. The fat officer calmly explains he didn't mishear anything, then further notes that Lu Sheng only temporarily boarded the conscription ship from the Yamu sector. Well, technically that does make him new. After all, this really is his first time stepping onto the outer space battlefield. For a second, Skeletal Blade doesn't even know how to react. He slowly turns around and watches our boy absolutely beating the crap out of the commander beast, punch after punch raining down like a meteor shower. He quietly mutters to himself, finally registering what is actually happening. Meanwhile, the poor bastard is fighting for his life, throwing up every defense he can think of. But it doesn't matter. Our boy suddenly grabs him by the hair and basically tells him how embarrassingly weak he is without that octopus body to hide behind. The fight is already getting boring, so he decides it's time to wrap this up. Sensing death knocking, the dude tries to pry Lu Sheng's arm away, but again, it doesn't work. Our boy has him locked in place, while his other hand calmly charges up a devastating strike. The next second, the beast lets out a panicked cry. What followed was a devastating explosion, with energy detonating downward. The shockwave blasts everyone away. Most of the group is sent flying, barely able to keep their footing. Only Skeletal Blade manages to stay upright. Even then, he subconsciously clenches his fists, eyes wide as if he just witnessed something impossible, and remarks internally how terrifying that power is. Smoke and debris engulfed the area. A few seconds later, Lu Sheng walks out of the haze. In his hand was the commander's lifeless head. He casually notes it wasn't much to begin with, but just as he prepares to condense the remains into a crystal, something feels off. A wave of dizziness hits him. Then suddenly he feels sleepy. Then energy begins gathering around him. It forms a glowing circle beneath his feet, and that's when he closes his eyes. Light wraps around his body layer by layer, sealing him inside like a cocoon. Skeletal Blade steps closer to the cocoon and reaches out, trying to touch it. The moment his fingers brush against the surface, he immediately recognizes how dense and heavy it feels. He reflects that with energy this thick, could this be a breakthrough happening right on the battlefield? Either way, there's no time to stand around guessing. He decides they need to move, so he lifts the cocoon with one hand, then turns around and tells the rest to follow him. Meanwhile, no one says a word on the way back. The past few days replay in everyone's mind like a fever dream. Everything feels bizarre, unreal, almost absurd yet unforgettable. If it weren't for the fallen teammates and the injuries everyone carries, they'd almost convince themselves that none of it actually happened. Even the female officer unconsciously touches the spot where her arm used to be, quietly processing it all. The journey continues until suddenly, Skeletal Blade announces they've arrived. Everyone slowly descends, and he introduces the place, the main base of the other space battlefield. In front of them stands a massive structure, with awful drawn-looking aircraft zooming around it. But aside from that awful drawing, Saya and the others couldn't care less. They're just relieved to actually make it here, and more importantly, they actually survived. Suddenly, a man rushes over and salutes Skeletal Blade, welcoming him back from the mission. He casually counts the remaining members and even smiles, noting that quite a lot survived this time. But Skeletal Blade has bigger concerns. He tells the man to assign people to guard the cocoon, then immediately flies off toward the inner base alone. Upon arriving inside, guards respectfully greet him as "Sir," and he nods in response. He moves quickly until he reaches a wall decorated with a massive lion head emblem. He lands, and a girl walks over, clearly surprised he returned so soon. She had expected at least a few more days, and half-jokingly asked if the recruits were already cooked before he even arrived, and that's why he returned so early. Ignoring her dark humor, he asks where she learned that kind of slang, and that's when we learn her name is Martha. She chews on a lollipop and grins, saying it's trendy, but Skeletal Blade isn't in the mood. He says he needs to see the Supreme Star Commander immediately, explaining that the recruits were brought back safely, though with some unexpected developments. He asks if the commander is busy. Martha shrugs and replies that the commander is inside. As for being busy or not, she has no idea. She casually asks if he wants her to announce him. Seeing her completely unbothered attitude almost drives him insane, and he urgently tells her to hurry up. Right then, his communicator rings. It's the guard from earlier, and there's a video feed attached. On screen is Lu Sheng's cocoon. Skeletal Blade is stunned to see that it's still growing in size, reflecting that he's never even heard of something like this. Just then, Martha returns and tells him the commander is waiting. The doors open, and he strides in. The massive hallway echoes with the sharp tapping of his footsteps. At the end stands another enormous door. He enters and immediately salutes, showing respect to Lord Makoto. And that's when we learn that among the 100 major star sectors, there are 2 Supreme Star Commanders. One oversees all the sectors under their command. The other is stationed permanently at the outer space battlefield. And Makoto is the latter. Both are 14th level and have comprehended domains. And standing before him now is that towering figure. a massive-looking guy with 8 arms resembling that of a Sura. Turns out Skeletal Blade's real name is Halo. Makoto looks down at him and notes that he heard Halo has something important to report. According to what he knows, Halo just left for a mission not long ago. Halo salutes again and says, "That's exactly why he's here." Seeing how serious he looks, Makoto grows a little curious. The next second, a tiny projection figure appears in Halo's palm. He explains that the ones who attacked the recruit squad were likely one of the Oblivion Lord's lackeys. He admits he was hit by a curse during the encounter, which caused some complications. Makoto immediately catches the key point and asks if he slipped up. Halo quickly shakes his head and clarifies it's actually the opposite. Not only did most of the recruits return alive, but the survival rate far exceeded their expectations. Now Makoto is genuinely puzzled. Under interference like that, it would be very difficult to achieve such a result. That's when Halo drops the bomb. He reveals that among the recruits, there was a 13th level recruit who had already comprehended the Thunder Rule. He further explained that the person eliminated the enemy, and by the time he arrived, the battle was already over. Makoto was not expecting any of this. He mutters to himself, 13th level and wielding the Thunder Rule? He asks if that's truly the case. Halo reconfirms it. He says he personally felt that lightning, pure destruction and annihilation packed into one force. He even admits that he himself wouldn't dare clash head-on against it. Hearing this, Makoto lights up. If this is true, it's massive news for the 100 major star sectors. They haven't seen a genius who comprehended such a powerful rule in a very long time. He immediately says he wants to meet this person. When he learns that Lu Sheng was left outside the base's protective barrier, Makoto almost criticizes Halo, but after thinking it through, he acknowledges he was just following protocol. He notes they can simply complete verification and bring him in. Leaving someone of that caliber outside alone would be disrespectful. At this point, Halo clearly struggles to explain the full situation. He finally says it's complicated and asks Makoto to come see for himself. In the next scene, the two rush out of the base. By the time they arrive, the cocoon has grown significantly larger. The two officers guarding it immediately sense Makoto's aura and quickly salute. Makoto ignores them completely and focuses solely on the cocoon. He reaches out and touches it with his finger. His expression changes instantly. He confirms this is indeed the Thunder Rule. Even more surprising, it's comprehended by a human. He turns and pats Halo on the back, praising him for a job well done and saying he's made a great contribution by bringing back such a powerful talent. Unfortunately, Makoto clearly underestimates his own strength. Halo coughs up a mouthful of blood and hurriedly wipes it away. Makoto realizes he got too excited and apologizes, admitting he hasn't been this thrilled in a long time. He then observes that after killing the Oblivion Lord's lackey, Lu Sheng must have gained substantial benefits. He seems to have reached a critical threshold and is currently in the middle of a breakthrough. The talent, the strength, everything about him screams rising star. Makoto immediately decides he must build a good relationship. Over the next few years, once Lu Sheng fully integrates here, he will then report this achievement back to the main star system. That political merit practically delivers itself. After calming down, Makoto asks Halo if he knows this young man's background. Halo rubs his chin, struggling to organize his thoughts. He points forward and suggests he ask them instead. He was pointing towards the two officers. After months of buildup, we finally learn their names, Ziki and Una, who turn out to be third-level star officers. Makoto compliments their efforts, and that alone nearly brings tears to their eyes. In their hearts, receiving praise from the Supreme Star Commander himself is an honor they never even dreamed of. Makoto tells them it's time to spill everything. Zeki starts from the beginning, explaining that Lu Sheng came from Yamu, missed his original conscription ship, and boarded theirs from a neighboring star sector. Makoto listens carefully, then suddenly cuts in. So what Zeki is implying is that Lu Sheng is actually a new recruit? That's the exact same reaction Halo had earlier. Both of them still find it unbelievable. Makoto turns to look at the cocoon again and reflects. A 13th level new recruit is also his first time entering the outer space battlefield, which means he achieved all this back in their universe. While extremely rare, it's not completely unheard of. More importantly, it confirms Lu Sheng belongs to their 100 major star sector. Still, Makoto can't even remember the last time someone like this existed. And now, out of nowhere, a monster like this appears. He even briefly wonders if that guy Soya secretly prepared this as some kind of surprise for him. Either way, Ziki hands over the remaining information. Makoto only takes one glance at the file and immediately frowns, saying, "This can't be right." He asks what era this record is from, pointing out that it lists Lu Sheng as only 11th level. He even remarks that this kind of outdated record must be at least a few thousand years old. Una quickly explains that this is all the information Yamu had sent to them, adding that this is the full file they received. What she doesn't say, though, is that the data isn't wrong at all. When she first met Lu Sheng, He really was 11th level. And yet, that seemingly ordinary new recruit somehow casually eliminated a level 13 commander beast. She doesn't even dare voice that thought because it sounds too absurd, even in her own head. Makoto still believes something isn't adding up, so he decides to verify it himself. With a simple wave of his hand, countless projections bloom into existence around him. Data streams flicker rapidly as he personally searches for Lu Sheng's records, and then a purple flame suddenly ignites in his eyes. His aura surges out uncontrollably, spreading across the area like a tidal wave. Everyone nearby feels it instantly. Halo immediately realizes this is bad. He rushes forward, steps in front of the two officers, and calls out to Makoto, snapping him back to reality. Makoto finally comes to his senses and withdraws his aura. He claims it was just an unintentional leak of power. But because the big guy is 14th level, even that tiny fraction was enough to make everyone present feel like death itself was inches away. Makoto apologizes, admitting he was momentarily shocked and didn't mean to frighten them. Halo silently reflects that someone like their Supreme Star Commander should possess near-flawless mental and emotional control, and there's no way a simple record would cause that level of disturbance. Not to mention he even lost control of his own aura. So what exactly did he see in Lu Sheng's records? Almost as if reading his thoughts, Makoto hands the record over and tells him to see for himself. Halo takes it. At first glance, it looks identical to the earlier version Zeki presented. Nothing special. But when he looks closer, he notices the additional details and his eyes go wide. He learned our guy is only 20 years old, indeed 11th level, and the most bizarre part is that every single achievement listed all happened this year.